What up? All United. Thank you guys for hitting that like button already. We've only just gone live and we're also on like 15 likes. So thank you for hitting that like button. We've got a wicked show planned for you tonight. It's a late night lock-in. We're live as normal. Get involved with the show. We'd love to have your thoughts on here. We'd love for you guys to get involved with the show as well. As ever, I'm Ben. This guy's Joe. How you doing, mate? What's the scene like in Ireland at the moment?
It's very dark because it's 10:05 and it's getting closer to Christmas, so everyone's pretty miserable. So, but on this side, on the upside, pubs are open again. As anyone who has been near my Twitter has seen, that I have pretty much not. This is the first time I've left a pub since they've opened. Is just to be on the channel. So you should all be very welcome for that. I'm very happy.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Well done. Well done. I mean, you get to enjoy a few Guinnesses, whilst us, we've got to have a substantial meal if we want to drink.
Well, I think we're supposed to have a substantial. How much is a substantial meal for you? Like how much?
Well, there was a big debate over here that apparently, well, it's not done on price. Apparently, it's done on the size of the meal. So apparently, a Scotch egg is a substantial meal.
What?
Yeah, apparently, a Scotch egg is a substantial meal.
That's not like. That won't fill anything. That wouldn't feel like a baby. Like that's absolutely.
Fair, though, something's ticking over in Joe's head, and it's sort of going, right, do you know what? If I lived in the UK, my dates would be so cheap. I could just take my woman out to Scotch eggs. I'll be quids in. Literally, the cheapest dates on planet Earth, and they get drunk quicker because they would have no food in their system.
That is actually very true. Yeah,
beer goggles on. How, by the way, we're going to talk to the guys about this. Obviously, big game tomorrow. We've got Leipzig, and we need to get a point to go through. How are you feeling, Joe, ahead of this? It's a huge game.
Yeah, I am so calm right now because it's 22 hours until the game kicks off, and because Solskjaer, whenever he's in trouble, he just wins. So I think we'll just have him in trouble constantly because every time it happens, he just pulls out a victory. We haven't lost on the road in so long. I know we're down to we're missing Martial, we're missing Cavani. But we were missing more players against PSG when we beat them the first time. We've had like so many times where we've been on our bare bones that we against bigger and better teams, and we pulled out victories. In saying that, now that I am calm, I definitely jinxed it, which means we're definitely going to lose tomorrow. So I don't know which one's better to be.
You know what? I was saying this earlier on Twitter. I've already got big match nerves. I can't be the only one. Does anyone else have big match nerves right now? So to the point where I can't even speak. Like, I'm so nervous. I usually get nervous on the morning of a game, but I'm nervous now. I feel like it's such a big match this tomorrow. Yeah. I feel like it's probably Ollie's toughest test yet. I think it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be difficult, but we'll have to wait and see. And we're going to get the guys in and chat to them. So should we go over to our guests? I actually want to bring in first of all a guy who we know and love. He's been on this channel before. He's honestly such a wicked content creator. His personality is incredibly infectious, and not only that, he's a funny guy. But do you know what I love the most about Russell? Is he's honest. He is so honest. And he's been talking out recently so much about mental health, and he's been talking out about how that's affected him. So if you want to go and follow anyone, you want to go get some perspective, and you want to go and hear from someone who's deeply honest, and he's there for a chat. He always says, I'm here for a chat. Anyone wants to talk, come and talk anytime. Go and check out Stretford_10. Russell, thank you for jumping in, mate. We love you over here. Can I just say that first of all?
We love you. We love you.
Thank you. We genuinely love you.
Now, I will say we do love you, Rusty, but I have to pull up Ben on one thing on the honesty thing, because if you were so honest, you wouldn't wear wigs on your first dates.
How did you know that I wore wigs on my first date? Even they don't wear. It's a merkin that I wear, not a.
It's actually a small dog you train to sit still.
I love that. Just on your head, peeping out all the time. Russell, first question for you tonight. Big game tomorrow. We're talking about our nerves and how we're feeling. How are you feeling ahead of the game tomorrow?
Yeah, do you know what? I wasn't really nervous until you two started talking then, and I felt my heart start to the palpitations started, and I was like reaching straight for the port. I was like, oh, mate. It's a very festive drink, that, isn't it? I wouldn't usually drink that all year round, but I've got lots of cheese in. And I've just realised, congratulations, guys. You set up very professionally there with your microphones and your headphones. I'm just laid in bed with a pink pillow and a port. And my laptop's on my knee. And I was really gutted because I looked at my port. I thought, I'm going to need another one of them in a minute. And then realised the rest of the port's on the other side of the room and I'm gutted.
Oh, no.
Back to Leipzig, though. I'm nervous. I am nervous. I'm worried. I'm gutted. I hate to keep going back to it. I know we all got back to it. It should have been wrapped up. We should have had 12 points. We shouldn't have got beat by Istanbul Başakşehir. And we've put ourselves in the right predicament now. It was a lazy performance back then. Probably the most annoyed I've been over a performance all season, apart from the first half against West Ham. For tomorrow, I think we can get the job done. I don't like the fact there's no Cavani, there's no Martial. I think you're going to talk about injuries in a bit, but I think that's a big loss, especially when we only need a point and then players can hold the ball up and, slow the play down. Igalo might get a chance tomorrow. You know what I mean? If you need a big lad, just hold the ball up and slow the ball down. I know it's a out of left field kind of opinion, but he could be brought on at some point. He could even start if we're going to look at lumping up the ball. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm nervous. I'm talking shit now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it though, mate. It's my birthday tomorrow, lads. So
that can't be
21 again.
21 again. So we've got to win. We really lose on my birthday. We quite often play City on my birthday, and we generally grind out a draw.
Russell, no word of a lie. So we played twice the day after my birthday against City, and both occasions were the games we got hammered in. So the 6-1 at Old Trafford, and I was there because both. I was obviously it's an easy birthday present to the family. If you want to buy me anything, day after my birthday, let's extend it. Get me down to Old Trafford. I want to watch Man United against City. And in both games, that was the game, the Mario Balotelli will always me. But I did get to see Darren Fletcher score the best goal of his career, which was a high point and the only high point. And the person I was with was like, should we go like 5 minutes earlier? And I was like, no, I'm staying till full time. I was the only person in that stadium in a red shirt at full time. Let me tell you at that point. So yeah, anyway, let's bring in John, shall we? I'm so excited to have John on. When me and Joe, and it was the same with David Snade, when we were planning the guests for this show, one of the names that we put down first on that list, Joe, wasn't it, was John Gubber. Now, John is a filmmaker. He's a bit of a Manchester United historian, and he's also responsible for Man United religion. John, thank you for joining us. I'm going to ask you about your nerves ahead of Leipzig in just a moment. But first things first, tell us a little bit about Man United religion and how your filmmaking has evolved around our football club over the years.
Well, thanks for having me on the show. And first of all, happy birthday to Russell. And you got me hungry, actually, because I haven't eaten since breakfast time because I've had a really mega day. And all that talk about Scotch, I don't really like Scotch eggs, but the port and the cheese, I fancy that. And if you hear my stomach rumbling, it's because I'm not eating since this morning. But the question was about being nervous. I wasn't nervous before I heard you talking about it. But the question was about Man United religion. Sorry, yes. I spent the last 30 years as an independent filmmaker, making documentaries and working for broadcasters and stuff. But the last 2 or 3 years, I sort of decided to invest more in my own films again, because making films for Man United, MUTV, for example, for 10 years, you're a little bit censored, for want of a better word. So I thought, to retain my authenticity, it was better to do them under my own umbrella. But it's obviously quite difficult funding programs that you want to try and get on TV. So last year, I made a film about the world's oldest Manchester United supporters club, which just happens to be based in Malta. And my mother was from Malta, so I'm a Mancunian Malteser. I was born in Manchester, got a Maltese mum, and I was actually born the same year the supporters club started, which makes me a dinosaur. But I'm also a bit of a Peter Pan because I've gone with the times and I've got quite into all the. I've got my own YouTube channels, Man United, the religion. I've got all my own social media. And what I've tried to do is create a brand around the religion, because for me, supporting Man United is a religion. Yeah. And that was the whole sort of concept of the film I made about the oldest supporters club in the world, because they're based 2,000 miles away from Manchester. Well, these guys, obviously pre-COVID, they're coming. There's always Maltese fans at Manchester United football stadium when we're in normal times. Mm-hmm. And some of these guys come half a dozen games a season. It's incredible that they're making such a big effort, win, lose or draw. And it is very much a religion for them. And they come to worship their team. And there's a lot of parallels. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but there's a lot of parallels between religion and football in the terminology that we use. We're all chasing the Holy Grail. We've got the Holy Trinity statue outside the front, and they're like gods looking down on the stadium. And that for me is what it's all about, really. I thought, well, I'm getting old. I want to do something a little bit more, create my own little legacy and do programs with some. I've got to know quite a lot of Man United players down the years, because when I was making films for Man United, I'll always get the sort of the films to do like Dennis Law or the oldest history, that history of Man United, the football stadium, first 100 years of Old Trafford, because a lot of the older players like me making films with them because I remember the matches, whereas a lot of the guys that were working for the channel were young guys like yourselves, and they weren't around when, I think I said in the build-up, I grew up on the Stretford End watching Georgie Best and Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law. And people like Dennis, I made 2 films with him. I've known Dennis since I was a teenager because my dad wrote his first book when I was 18. And when I was 18, I was a sports editor of the Altrincham Guardian. And one of the first headlines I wrote was about local man writes the King's autobiography. And it was a story about my dad writing Dennis Law's book. So I've kind of known Dennis since then. And it's lucky to be in that situation, but it's kind of mad really when you're standing on the Stretford End watching these guys as a normal fan, then decades later you get to know these guys, and it's a privilege.
Do you know what you said there, John, about obviously speaking to younger fans, and I can sort of slot in here and talk a little bit. I've got to thank John, and I've got to thank people like United Before Fergie and Roy Kavanagh and Neil and Barry as well, Doc United, who you see on this channel, because when we started making the shows with Patrick Burns from the Manchester Munich Memorial Foundation, from the very first show, John reached out, everyone reached out. These guys who are incredible historians, authors, filmmakers reached out and said that they really loved the content we were doing with that, and that obviously inspires us to do more and more content like that. And for me, John, sitting there listening to Roy and Tom, honestly, just sit there in awe. Like literally sit there in awe listening to their stories. It's just the most, I can't describe the Russell, you do shows, Joe, you host shows. When you hear someone talk, I don't know if you've had the privilege, but to be able to sit there in awe listening to someone's story. And actually, do you know what they managed to do for the Duncan Edwards show? They managed to bring Duncan Edwards to life. I felt like he was still playing today. And that was such a strange feeling I had coming out the back of that show and going and watching clips of him. It's fantastic to get so involved, isn't it, John, in the history of the club?
I know exactly how you feel because Tom Clare's a very good friend of mine, and I heard him speak at an MMF dinner, and he was talking about Duncan Edwards, and it was almost like he took you back in time, and it felt like you were there because he's so passionate in the way he talks about it, but he's also so knowledgeable. I mean, I have to applaud you on the series that you've done about the old guys. I mean, I'm actually a director of the Duncan Edwards Foundation, and Pat Burns and the MMF are part of my next film, which is called We Will Never Die. And it's a kind of a follow-up. It's part of the religion series, but for me, it's all about preserving the legacy of Man United. And that's why I like what you guys are doing, because you're young guys. And it's all about passing on our memories to you guys, because when these older guys die, like Jimmy Murphy, for example, without Jimmy Murphy, there's no Manchester United. And the next film I'm doing is about Jimmy Murphy, Duncan Edwards, and Harry Gregg. They're the 3 main stars.
Are you going, John? Are you going out to Munich as well to the next memorial?
Well, I was there this year, and obviously I'm not sure what's going to happen next year because we're still in this blooming sort of like lockdown situation. So I know that there were 23 guys going from Malta, and they've already cancelled their trip because of the COVID. But I did a massive interview with Harry Gregg, which I'm sort of gutted that he's still not around, and because he's one of the stars of the show. But I got this amazing interview with him. I spent 8.5 hours in his house, and it's
crazy.
Harry was such a special guy, and I know you did a special program on him, and Tom Clare and Roy Kavanagh know a lot more about him than me because they're a little bit older. But I got to know him when I went over to see him, and he's such an amazing legend. And everybody that watches this show should go and watch the series that you've done about these old guys, especially the Harry Gregg one and the Jimmy Murphy. They were my favourite ones, to be honest.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And yeah, 100%. You've got to check out the Harry Gregg one. I think the Harry Gregg one was the most emotional piece of YouTube content I've ever been involved with. And it was literally just this setup. I don't know if you've seen it, Russell. It was literally just this setup. Me, Patrick, Tom, and Roy. Just me asking the questions, trying to direct the conversation. But obviously, I can't really pitch in. Just learning about Harry Gregg. It was truly remarkable. And by the way, Barry, Doc United, one of our contributors, says, so nice to see John. Please send him my best wishes. Jacob says, any relation to Tony?
Well, Tony was my role model, in fact, because Tony was my dad's younger brother. I was the oldest of 5 kids, and I grew up in Sale. And before Tony had his own kids, he used to come and take me around. So I used to go places like the training, Man United trainings, go to all different football clubs. And I was going to Old Trafford when I was sort of 5, 6 years old. I don't really remember the beginning because I was too young, to be honest. But I feel like I was brought up correctly. And Tony, I thought if Tony always had a nice sports car, a nice girlfriend, and he covered sport. And I thought that's good enough for me. That's what I'm going to do. So I kind of tried to follow his footsteps.
Let's live in the life. I think we all want that life. Sorry, I've already got that life.
I'm still trying.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
I know who you're trying to fool there.
You can't hear me. I just don't have the car, right? Mark's got involved, and Mark says, "Don't go and watch United against City after your birthday again, Ben." Well, Mark, you'll be happy to know my birthday's not this coming Friday. Hello to Nithin, who says, "One of the biggest matches of the season. The Oddie Out guys will be back in full swing if we blow it up tomorrow." Look, what I want to do is I want to actually come away slightly from the Leipzig game. We'll hit on that in just a second's time, which is the worst segment any presenter could ever do, because we were just speaking about the Leipzig game when we started the show. But actually, I want to reflect on sort of what John was saying there. And John, by the way, your camera's frozen, but we can still hear you, so I'm not too fast. Yeah, but your camera's frozen.
I'm seeing myself on my inset. I'm seeing you four guys. Is that right? Am I supposed to see you?
Yeah, no, it's not. It's honestly, it's not a big worry. It's just
Internet,
that you've frozen on a very smiley picture of yourself. So I'm sure
Very nice.
It's a nice photograph. It's profile picture material. Let me put
As long as
it
it's not a stupid photograph, like.
Yeah. But what I want to start on is we were chatting there about the legends of this football club, and I think when this man returned to the club, and this is slightly unplanned, it wasn't in the show plan, but I'm going to shoehorn it in anyway because it's the biggest talking point today. When this guy returned to the club, and we was all Pog backing, we were excited to know or to see what was going to happen with Paul Pogba. Now, I've always been balanced with Paul Pogba. I can only judge him from what I see on the pitch. I think price tags are inflated anyway, so I don't want to talk about how much he costs. I do agree with a fairy tale that it would have been nice for him to come back and be that leader and that amazing footballer. But the fact of the matter is, he still joined the club at such a young age. So what were we expecting from him? So I just want to keep it really real here and just talk about what was said today from his agent, Mino Raiola, or as Sir Alex Ferguson calls him, the shitbag. Joe, what did you make of the comments today? Apparently, Paul Pogba has no future at Manchester United, and apparently Raiola's going to look to get him out of the club in the next transfer window, Raiola said.
Yeah, look, it's fine, whatever. I've kind of like given up on Pogba United so long ago. If he hasn't got the balls to stand up his agent and just say, don't say these things, if he doesn't want them to be said. So clearly he does want them to be said. They say that Raiola goes off his own back, blah, 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 bullshit. It was planned out, every single one of these things. Whenever he goes off the rails, he does it in such an eccentric way that he's labeled as being a madman, when in fact he's doing exactly what is best for his client, and for himself, which is to get the most money and get a move. So whatever this is, whatever people, I don't understand people trying to defend him. It genuinely, it actually riles me up when people are online somehow defending Pogba, being like, he's not him, it's his agent. Absolute bullshit. Everything is planned. There was no chance of taking here. And if it is, like, if there is a mistake, all Pogba has to do is come out at any time tomorrow and just say, I don't stand by what my agent said. He went off the reservoir. That's all he has to do. He's never done that, and he never will. So honestly, he can go fuck himself.
Wow, that was strong. Russell, are you in the same avenue?
Well, I think you saw my little rant today on Twitter in regards to it, and where I wasn't like completely defending Pogba, I was putting a lot of blame on Mino Raiola, because he's the one who's come out, he's the one who's put the statement out there to the world. But in the same breath, as I said, something with such strong values, which like literally says this is the end of his tenure at Man United. You'd think that's something that he would have run through Pogba first. But I said, because it's Mino Raiola, there's every chance he didn't do either. There's every chance that Pogba's woke up this morning, looked at his phone and thought, fucking hell, what have I done wrong now? You know what I mean? He could be completely in the dark to it, because that's the kind of guy Mino is. He'll try and push this through. And you know what? I've overthought it a little bit as well since that little rant I had. Has he done it on purpose now as well? Because he thinks it'll upset the team. We'll get beat tomorrow. We'll end up in the Europa League, and that gives him leverage to get Pogba out of the club as well. You know what I mean? I might be more overthinking it just because I hate the little Penfold-looking fuck that much. But he really does need to grow a backbone, does Pogba. Number one, come out and let us know if that statement is true. If it's not, properly come down heavy on Mino, because you can't be doing stuff like that. It unsettles a team. We've got a massive game against Leipzig tomorrow. We do not need these kind of waves right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was thinking the exact same. And I was just reading through some comments there on Twitter, and everyone's more or less saying the same here, John. John, look, you've got a big Manchester United brain. Thinking back in our history, have you ever seen, and this is the argument that keeps coming up, Paul Pogba gets more hate than anyone's ever seen for any other footballer? That's always the argument that comes up. So, you know, United fans are getting potentially what they want here. Paul Pogba to leave the club. He was never respected. He was never loved. What do you make of that comment? Do you agree with that? Do you think Paul Pogba gets an unfair amount of criticism, and potentially more criticism than you've ever seen a Man United player get?
I think it's right that he gets more criticism than any other Manchester United player has ever had in the history of the football club. And I feel sorry for him on one respect, because I think he's actually quite a nice guy. I think he's a little bit immature. I feel his agent is a bum, and there's no better way of putting it than that, in my opinion. I don't trust him.
Well, Russell and Joe just said a few choice words that were slightly more.
I'm a bit more reserved, but I mean, you know, I just think that you can't trust his agent. I don't trust the word. I don't believe a word that he says. And I do think that I feel disappointed that Paul Pogba doesn't have the backbone, like Joe said, to sort of like stand out and speak for himself. But I think he's just basically totally overawed by his agent. And I grew up in a time when I remember Gordon McQueen, I got to know quite well. And he said when he signed from Leeds, every football player wanted to play for Manchester United, and anybody that didn't was a liar. And I've grown up with that. I've grown up in that era. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I can't understand how Paul Pogba can't be happy at Manchester United. And I think there's the talk about him going anywhere. I think it's a load of bullshit, to be honest, because I think at the end of the day, he's struggling to get in the Man United team. I mean, who with the right amount of money has got to be able to pay a lot of money for him? That's going to enable United to release him. So I think he's got to prove himself again at Manchester United in my world. And I think if anybody can manage Paul Pogba, it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because he remembers when he was coming through as an academy player, and a lot of people forget that he's an academy player. And I think he love United, but he's a little bit misguided. But I do feel sometimes I think Paul Pogba, whatever he does, is always wrong, and I think there's a little bit of racism in it as well. Not a lot all the time, but I think sometimes because of who he is and what he's done and what his background is, whatever he does, he's always going to get attacked straight away. It's a little bit like Manchester United these days. You know, we've got a lot of fake fans, and they're wanting to jump on the back of United. Every time we lose a game, it's like Ollie out or whatever, and they're not happy. And I feel with Pogba, like the sort of, he's like an exaggeration of that. Whatever he does, he gets it in the neck straight away. But I think he's probably deserved it a little bit by not speaking out for himself. But I don't think he's that type of guy. I just think
See, oh, sorry, Ben.
I was just going to say, Kelvin says that he thinks Pogba is mature enough to control his agent. I just want to bring some comments in, Joe, and come back over to you. And Nathan says, at the end of the day, sick and tired of this whole saga. It's been emotionally draining. I can't wrap my head around why there are fans still defending him. Of course, he approves these comments. Jacob says he's not a typical bench warmer. He's too fashionable, and he costs a world record fee. So basically, we shouldn't be dropping him into the bracket of someone who should be and could be a big player coming off the bench for us. He should be starting. He should be influencing games. And Stuart says, why does Roland make these comments the day before the massive game? Don't understand. And Russell, you hit on that with what you said. You know, is there a bit of mental logic? But then, look, this is what I've got a few views on this, and I'll come over to you, Joe. Point number one on this whole hate for Pogba. I think we've got to remember there's such a huge footballing community on Twitter. We all use it. And it is the worst place to be on a match day by a country mile. So I done a little experiment last weekend. Last weekend, I say, during the West Ham game. I went on Twitter at halftime and put some tweets out, but didn't read the timeline. Instead, I went on the All for United Instagram account and just flipped through the stories and scrolled through the timeline. Now, from what people told me, Pogba got a lot of hate at halftime in the West Ham game for his performance. I saw none of that on Instagram. So, of course, if you're on Twitter and you're scrolling through that, you're letting it influence your decision and you're immersing yourself in that world, then you are going to see that hate. You're going to embrace that hate and you're going to feel it. Now, we also need to remember on that if you're going to use Twitter as your main source for how hated a footballer is, Manchester United have the biggest fan base on the platform. We are unrivaled. We've got so many fans around the world, and we have the most fans on the platform who use it regularly. So, of course, when one thing, it's like the Ollie out stuff. We win a game and Ollie out is number one trending. How the hell does that happen? That's because we've got so millions and millions of fans. And, of course, a small section of those fans are going to not want Ollie as manager. Of course they do. But then there's going to be another huge section of fans who do want Ollie as manager. But we're just not sad enough to tweet hashtag Ollie in all the time. We've got to remember that this is very platform centric. Not once have I heard an Old Trafford crowd everyone, all 76,000 people stand up and boo Paul Pogba. I've seen an idiot on camera square up to him and everyone around him go, shut up, mate, you're in the wrong. So the bloke and fans come out afterwards. But I've never seen this big hate for Paul Pogba. I've seen it in the press, but we can't, and I do agree with you, John, there's probably a race element to it, which is just disgusting and it shouldn't be the way nowadays. But I think that's a press agenda. That's nothing to do with us fans. So that's where I'm at with the fan point of view, and you guys can mold on that if you want. But another point I wanted to make as well was on this whole thing around Raiola and Pogba not knowing what they're doing. Now, surely if you're Raiola and you've got half a brain, you know Paul Pogba is going to be with that whole team. They're on an aeroplane. They're going to be around each other. They're going to be getting ready for a big game. How are you helping your player, your friend, by saying something like that? The United team, how must they feel, Joe?
Yeah.
His agent come out and say shit like this.
No, it's no. This is what is doing my head in. Okay, because Pogba I put in the same bracket as Neymar and players like that who aren't footballers. They're a brand, and like I have a hot take that the reason Pogba has never come out and said anything really negative whatsoever. Like whenever you search for him, it's always him dancing. It's always him. It's always positive spin on him. It's because I think it's Nike that basically own him. Like they want him as their poster child. That's why it's not that he hasn't done anything on the pitch that he's cost as much as he would. It's because he's worth that much. Because whoever he goes to are going to make a huge amount of money because he is a positive influence on sales always and always will be. Well, as long as doesn't matter because he's a World Cup winner, scored the World Cup final, and he can move well. The worst thing that happened to Pogba was Bruno Fernandes coming to the club, because the issue everyone has with Pogba, I think the majority is, and I completely understand where the race issue comes from as well, but I think the huge problem is that he's our most expensive signing, and someone who's cost about half of what he has done what he was supposed to do. That sounds like a riddle, sorry. But Bruno Fernandes arrives in January and has been insane for half the amount that Pogba has cost. Pogba has done nothing to warrant the love that he gets. Okay, if he cost the amount Bruno did, maybe around the same amount as Fred did, we'd be all kind of a bit more supportive. But when his social media presence has frustrated a lot of people because, and then like stuff that got me as well, it was like when he was dancing with his brother during the San Etienne game and just before it and afterwards, and you're like, maybe it's the old school part of me, like growing up watching United in the 90s when Roy Keane would have decapitated one of his Irish teammates if it meant that United were going to win the game by doing it. Do you know? I hate that side of the game now. It's not just Pogba, but it's everyone, where you have to make sure you say hi to your mates in the opposition. They're not your mates. They're a rival. That's it. You're enemies for 90 minutes, and you shouldn't be in any way contacting them, no matter what. So that is, for me, the frustration. Is the amount that he costs, and also for the fact that he has delivered maybe once every 15 games, if we're lucky. And the fact that he's on the bench when we were struggling in midfield, and we actually needed someone of his quality to start, but he wasn't up for starting. That's the issue. That is it. It's nothing to do with anything else other than the fact that he costs us so much and he's done nothing.
Russell, what about you? How would you sum up his time at United? And do you think this is the end of this relationship, this dysfunctional relationship as it is at the moment?
A lot of people saying fake news in the comments. I don't know. I've actually seen any video footage of Raiola saying it. So, you know what I mean? We might be blowing out of proportion. I don't know.
Dropping tomorrow morning. The whole video's dropping tomorrow morning. It's the quotes that they've put out now. But an interesting development from it is that apparently the interview was recorded last week.
Right.
Why is it being released tomorrow morning on the morning of the day, and why are the quotes coming out now?
Yeah, that's along the lines that I was just saying a moment ago. Like with Mino Raiola, he's a tactician within business, isn't he? And it's probably an ideal moment for him to drop it, because just before a big game, it creates massive volume for him. It gets it out there. It's always going to get out there anyway, because he's the biggest super agent on the planet. But right now, it triggers all the Man United fans. It triggers social media. It blows up. It's perfect for him if he wants to get his words out there. But Pogba, 18-19 season, absolutely prolific, fantastic player, carried us for most of the season, to be fair. I love his 1-2 touch movement, and the way he moves himself is so slick. He looks effortless sometimes, but sometimes he looks like he's got no effort. So you either get one or the other with Pogba, don't you? And I never thought I never felt when he came back that it was going to be the fairy tale happy ending. I always felt when you've got an agent like that, when you're quite known for being quite controversial yourself, or choosing the wrong words, I think sometimes Pogba does. I think he is, like John said before, I think he's immature. I don't think he's, I don't want to be harsh, I don't think he's very intelligent. So I think sometimes the words that he puts across don't always mean what he's trying to say. It's just what comes from his head to his mouth the quickest. And I think he is misjudged sometimes. But since that one season where he played absolutely fantastic, for the price tag he paid, and people say, he didn't want that price tag. He deserved that price tag because he played brilliant at Juventus. You know what I mean? Warranted a price tag like that. So you've got to live up to it when you're that good of a player, when you're in the bracket of like top 10, top 5 players in the world, and he hasn't delivered that on a regular basis. And as much as I want him to come good, and as much as I'll never have hate for Pogba because he's one of our own, he's come through the academy, I think it is coming to an end, and it wouldn't hurt too badly if it did.
Yeah, good points well made. Guys, if you're watching on any other platform right now, come over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/allforunited. We are so close to 1.7k, so please hit that subscribe button. Let's get them up and get the views up. And also, if everyone watching right now can hit that like button, we'd be smashing well over 20 views, 20 likes, which would be amazing. So please hit that like button. If you don't do it for us, do it for our guests, who are brilliant. And Joe, you're making smile. John, final point on this, because we've got to move on. We're getting well into the show here. We're already half an hour in. Just final point on this. Barry has a good question here. What do we think then? Does he play a part tomorrow now, Paul Pogba? Or is it good management from Ollie to leave him out?
I think you've got to trust Ollie, to be honest. But one thing a couple of quick points I'd like to say is I've worked in the media since I was 17 years old, and I blame the media for a lot of this because Manola, he's making this part of the agenda because, going back to what Joe said, I think Bruno arriving at Man United Football Club has been fantastic for Pogba because all of a sudden, it was not so long ago that we thought if Pogba doesn't play, we can't win. But now we don't need Pogba. We can win without him. So it's kind of taking the pressure off Pogba in a way, but it's also sort of like taking the spotlight off him. So this is why I think Manola comes up with this garbage. And it's planned with the media. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just said it's recorded a week ago and it's going to be brought out on the day of the game, the video. Well, that's the colluding between an agent, a slippery agent, and the media. And I blame both sides. I blame the agent and I blame the media. I don't blame the player. I think the player is too immature, and he's just basically handed over responsibility to the agent, and he just does what he's told. He's like a kid, really, to be honest. And I feel sorry for him because he is a talented player, but I think also because he's made too much money, and he is a brand, like Joe said. He hasn't got the hunger to do it every week, but when he does it, he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic.
So,
yeah, no, fantastic points well made, and I do agree with that. And I've said this before, I've said it again. If he really does want to play for this football club, and he wants to sack his agent, come out and say something that us fans will love, and somehow mend this relationship and go a long way to doing it, I would love nothing more. And also, I don't want us to get to the point where our next signing is this amazing central defensive midfielder. We're all sat here going, "God, could you imagine how good Paul Pogba would be in this team?" Because that will be the conversation one day.
Yeah.
We're fickle football fans, we all are. But anyway, we've got to move on with the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Leipzig game in just a moment. It's an important game tomorrow. We've got the ultimate Manchester United fan quiz coming up as well. But right now, 60 seconds, Joe, if you could please put that on the clock for me, because I'm going to ask John and Rusty about their first Manchester United experiences. Now, I'm going to come to you guys one by one, same question, and you've literally just got to blurt out the first thing that comes to mind or the first thing you can remember. Joe's going to be listening and he's going to ask you both brief questions on what you've said tonight, because we're really running out of time, so we've got to speed through this to be able to chat about Leipzig in a bit more detail. So, Joe, when you're ready to go.
Speeding through it, isn't it?
Yeah. It depends how long it takes Joe to ask you the questions afterwards. Though. If he asks you a 20-minute question, we're screwed.
Yeah, although ironically, by me telling you that it's quick, I'm slowing it down.
It's taking so much longer.
Russell.
3, 2, 1, go.
Right, to my first United. John, we'll come to you first. What was your first Manchester United game that you saw live?
I don't remember the first game, but the first game I remember was 1967 when United beat West Ham 6-1 away, and I listened to it on the radio, and Dennis Law scored twice, and Best and Charlton also scored.
What about you, Russell?
First live game?
Yeah, live game.
QPR 1990, 3-1 win.
Nice. What about your first United kit that you had as a boy, John?
Simple. It was just a plain red shirt with a little white circle around the top and a white number on the back. No sponsor.
What about you, Russell?
85 home kit.
What about John? What about the first big signing that you can remember Manchester United making?
To be honest, we didn't make a lot of big signings because I was watching United in the late 60s, so I can't really remember a big signing until, say, Willie Morgan, Alex Stepney, but I was only about 6 years old then. I only vaguely remember it. Willie Morgan was probably the first big one that I remember.
What about you, Russell?
1968, after United won the European Cup.
I'd like to say Dave Anderson, but I don't know if I'm saying that just for nostalgic reasons looking back, because I was only 5, so 6. So probably Cantona.
Because well, I've got one more, but because John's so clean-mouthed, I'm not going to ask John this one. I'm going to ask Russell this one. No, Russell, what about the first word that comes to mind when I say Liverpool?
I was going to say something nice.
Bin dipping scumbags who got us all banned from Europe.
Right, there we go. Perfect. I knew that'd be the perfect question for Russell.
Yeah.
Can I say Shankly?
Shankly.
Yeah.
Because I used Shankly was a big fan of Matt Busby, and he used to go to Manchester United football ground, sit in the director's box, wearing a Man United tie when he was Liverpool manager. So I've got a lot of respect.
Really? Wow.
I raise a glass of port to Shankly.
Yeah. his hero is Matt Busby. Somebody said to him once, the best job in football has just come up. He said, "What, has Matt Busby resigned?"
Wow. I love that. One of the
God.
greatest Liverpool managers of all time wanted to be the gaffer at Manchester United. That's where it's at.
To jump into the 60-second speed round as well, right? I've always quoted Shankly's, football's not a matter of life or death. Now I'm going to quote that one that John just said then, because that means I don't have to give anything towards Liverpool or any like oh, well done Bill Shankly for a beautiful quote. I can do the quote where he's just praising Man United.
Yeah, perfect.
A lot of people don't know that because it's many generations later. I mean, poor old Shanky died. I think it was about 1981 when he died. So it's a different era, isn't it? He was the Matt Busby era, the Jock Stein era, but he was a gentleman.
Yeah, good.
I love that. What a bit of knowledge. I never knew that. Joe, do you want to ask quick questions on the back of
that? I have a quick question. This, when you said it, John, it came to my mind there. When you said your first jersey was the symbol, the plain red one, was a case of like it was the exact same red jersey every single year. And how much was it back then?
I can't remember. I wouldn't have been able to. I mean, I got 50p pocket money, and out of that 50p pocket money, I could go to Old Trafford and buy a programme and get the bus. I mean, I haven't got a clue what the shirt would have cost, but it was the same shirt every year. I remember 67, 68, 69. It would have been the same shirt. We didn't have sponsors. We just played in red.
So,
it was 1 to 11. We didn't have all these fancy numbers or sponsors or anything like that.
And did it just change when we got to maybe Sharp was our first sponsor? Was that the first time jersey started changing, I guess, was it?
I remember we had, was it Vodafone for a long time? But to be honest, we didn't really talk about sponsors in those days. We just wanted to watch the football. I used to see football players on the bus. I used to see Arthur Albison on the bus.
Oh my God!
I used to see the players in the pub, the Little B in Sale. But I mean, nowadays footballers live in a different world to fans. In those days, it wasn't a sport. I mean, the most Dennis Law and people like that would have earned playing football was about 200 quid a week. I mean, some of these guys like Norman Whiteside earn more working on a Saturday, doing the corporate hospitality and talking to a few fans just for going to one match than what they did when they were playing the game. I mean, Lou Macari, that sort of era, Sammy McElroy. Yeah. The game has changed enormously. And there was a game before the Premier League, and that's what a lot of people don't realise.
What struck me, John and Joe, this is out there. Tom Clare on the Tommy Taylor special was talking about how he used to follow Tommy Taylor to a game 2 hours before the match because of where they lived. On whereabouts was it again, John? Can you remember where the house was?
I don't remember where the house was, but I remember Tommy Taylor, he signed for United, and then after he signed, he said, "How much are you going to pay me?" I know a few players the same. A good friend of mine is Gordon Hill. Exactly the same thing. Gordon Hill was signed for United, and in the room was Matt Busby, Jimmy Murphy, and Tommy Docherty. He left the room and he thought, "I'll just go back." And he went back in there and he could hear them saying, "Oh, that's a missing link." And he said, "Oh, by the way, guys, what are you going to pay me?" And Matt Busby said to him, "Don't worry, son, we'll look after you." That's what it was like in those days. It's totally different.
Wow.
Barry's in, by the way. First sponsor was Sharp in 1983.
Oh, that's the one. I can see the shirt, but I couldn't remember the name. I'm getting too old.
I have a quick, very, very quick question for Rusty as well. You said your first signing that you remember, but you felt it was for nostalgia. That was Viv Anderson, wasn't it?
Yeah, Viv Anderson.
Why nostalgia with Viv Anderson?
Why what?
You said it was. I don't know if it was nostalgia with Viv Anderson that you said him, but
when I was like 5, I was so passionate about Man United. My dad used to say that he reckons it was. I said that before I said mummy and daddy. I just completely and utterly obsessed. Everything that he bought for me had to be football, pencil cases, you name it. Everything had to be Man United from like the age 3, 4 years old. Now I was only 6, 7 years old when Viv Anderson started playing, but I clear as day remember watching Viv Anderson on Sunday, on Super Soccer Sundays, you know, on ITV.
Yeah.
I remember him signing. I remember Brian McClure signing. But at that time, I didn't know the enormity of their signings and what they were bringing to the club. But by the time it came to 94 when we signed Cantona, I knew exactly what that meant. So that's what I mean. Looking back, I remember signing Viv Anderson. I remember signing Brian McClure and the likes of them. But I could never. I did just like Man United players. I was that buzzing. That big Viv Anderson is about 7 foot. He's gonna be fantastic. That's really big when you're about 6, 7 years old. But Cantona, when he came, even though you did completely know the impact he was going to make, you sensed the excitement around it. You knew something was coming, and he didn't let you down.
Yeah.
Do you know what? We've asked everyone this question about the first signing, and I'm trying to think of mine, and mine must have been, what year did Ruud sign?
2001.
2001. It must have been Ruud van Nistelrooy, because I would have been 7 when he signed, and that's just when I was getting, properly into watching the football with my dad and stuff. So it must have been Ruud van Nistelrooy for me. But someone made a good point the other week that Veron was their first signing. I know but Veron, there was a lot of emphasis behind his name when he first signed for the club, and everyone was really looking forward to it. So it's really, really interesting. I'm not sure whether we should talk about Leipzig. We've got a preview out there on the channel. We've got about 5 minutes, or whether we should tick into John's brain and get Russell to ask John a question and find out some more stories from John. I think we should. I think we should.
Sebastian Veron was one of my biggest disappointments. We signed him for £28.1 million, and he was absolutely a brilliant player. And he did actually score quite a few goals for United, but he never delivered. And we sold him to Chelsea for 15 million quid, and he didn't do it at Chelsea either. But he was one of our biggest disappointments, I think.
My favourite thing.
We had Roy Keane and
Scholes.
We had that amazing midfield, didn't we? We had Giggs, and we had Scholes, and we had Keane, and we had Beckham. So, he was trying to sort of like make it even better than perfect, and that's why it didn't work.
It was meant to be for Europe.
Sorry?
Yes. Yeah.
It was Veron was bought for us to win the Champions League again. That was kind of it.
He still won the Premier League. I mean, he's done more than Steven Gerrard's done, hasn't he? So
yes.
There he is. Stuart's put here some great stories, John. How great it must have been to have been a fan in those days. Oh, John, could you hit on what? I mean, that's such an open-ended question. But what would you say is that the major differences now between football back then in the 70s, the 80s, but compared to the game now?
Well, we had a bit of violence in between, but the thing I miss the most is nowadays, because of the media, the rivalry has turned into malice. Back in the old days, there was more respect between football teams. I remember being on the Stretford end, and if the other team did something good, you'd applaud. It didn't happen all the time, but it was much more respectful. Nowadays, obviously, when we had fans in the stadiums, you'd see somebody do something good against your team, and you'd see people doing all sorts of obscenities in the crowd. I mean, it's just, I think it's the crowd that's changed a lot.
Yeah.
To be honest, because you see all the old footage, it's all gentlemen. When I was a kid, what my first memories of going to Old Trafford was, as a young kid, you get picked up and passed over the top to the front, and you'd watch the game from behind a little white picket fence, and there'd all these little kids at the front, and it was so civilized, and it was a totally different experience than what you get now.
So it's social mentality. It's social mentality that's changed more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah. People have changed. People have changed, but also it's just this. What I don't like. My pet hate is the malice, because football is nothing without rivalry.
Yeah,
it'd be a little bit more respectful. Going back to Bill Shankly. Bill Shankly loved Man United. He loved Matt Busby, but he still wanted to beat them because that's what it was like. You cross the white line, and you read. I mean, Dennis Law, when he's playing for Scotland against England. I mean, he says that Scotland won the World Cup in 1967 because they beat England at Wembley after they won the World Cup. But he talks about kicking, Nobby Stiles and Bobby Charlton because he had to win that game.
Yeah.
When he went back to he didn't want to go back to Old Trafford and have the embarrassment of them taking the piss, basically. Yeah. Do you know what? Your enemies, but when you finish, you go to the pub and you have a drink, and that's what I think. That's the thing that's changed the most.
I think it was the violence, John, that transformed football, wasn't it, into the rivalry it is now.
Yeah, it was also magnified by the media. The media like confrontation and rivalry, not rivalry, but they like confrontation and malice. And it comes into everything, even like with the agent. They're trying to pit everybody against everybody. That's why I feel a little bit sorry for Paul Pogba, because I think he's caught in that same thing. It's the same thing it destroys everything. We live in a world now where everybody's polarized. You're either red or you're blue, or you're Brexit or you're not Brexit, or you're Trump or you're not Trump, or whatever it is. You choose a side.
Social media.
And I think
it's true. That negativity is breeded into us now. I'll give you a quick example, because I know Ben wants to actually talk about.
Was it my argument I had on Twitter earlier on today with people? Is that the example you're going to?
It reminded me a bit of something you said before. No. I talking about negativity breeds and malice breeds, right? I did a social experiment on Facebook once, and I put after one of my comedy gigs. I didn't even have a gig. I had a really bad gig tonight, awful, died on stage. Got about 190 likes, right? 2 days later, I put smashed it tonight, absolutely brilliant, best gig ever. About 4 likes.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It goes back to the media, and the media love bad news. I covered the Falklands War. That's how old I am, and I actually remember being in the Sun newspaper when the Belgrano went down, and I saw people celebrating because it was bad news, and that's what sell papers. And it's the same thing.
Do you know what? I think it's interesting when you say some differences between the games and the crowds and the fans and stuff. I've been waiting to say this joke, by the way, for 5 minutes whilst you guys have been talking, so I'm going to go with it now. It's quite interesting that you both mentioned the word violence, because for me now it's a bit less violence and more violence. Yes, violence. Big difference in violence. VAR violence. Okay. No, look at this. Look at this from a comedian. Look at that from a comedian. That's what. Joe, have one good one a show. I thought that was a good one tonight.
Don't give up the day job.
Yeah. Look, you're doing great, Ben. Thanks.
Do you know what? No, I think you guys set your expectations way too high. Anyway, just one last bit before we get into the quiz, guys. Get in the live chat because you can take part in the Ultimate Fan Quiz. Literally, just want 60 seconds from each of you. Tomorrow's game, Joe. Is it Ollie's toughest test yet? Is it his biggest game as a manager tomorrow?
No, I don't think so, because he won't get sacked if he loses it, and he's been at a couple of occasions where he was going to get sacked if he didn't win the following game. I do feel we're good enough to get something out of the game, and when we're actually missing players, we have this siege mentality within the squad where we can actually pull out a result. So I feel we will go there. I actually do still think we'll win.
Russell, his biggest game?
No. I'm there with Joe as well. He won't get sacked. It's a massive game. He needs to treat it like it's his biggest game ever, and I'm sure he will. He's got that kind of mentality. He's got winning. He's got blood with it. He's got I can't even speak. I've had too many reports. He's got it running through his veins, that winning mentality. I think we've got enough in our locker. We're beaten 5-0 in the first game. I reckon we've definitely got enough. As long as we don't go out there and be too apprehensive, and we go out and we play the way we can do, I can see us coming away with 3 points tomorrow.
I don't think you're being left speechless because of the port. I think it was my amazing joke. You're trying to remember it so you can bring it out in the next gig. John, just very quick.
I was trying to work out how to make it better so I could use it.
John, let me just quickly come over to you just very, very quickly on this. Instead of saying, is it his biggest game yet then? Is it Ollie's toughest test yet, John?
I don't think it is. I think there's 2 toughest games. One was PSG the first time when we won away, and also when we won at Leicester. That was the biggest pressure when we won at Leicester to qualify for the Champions League. But there are similarities because we didn't have to lose that game. We had to draw or to win. And it's a similar game to this one. I think it's going to be squeaky bum time. I think it's going to be nervous to the end. But I always believe that we're going to win because I'm an eternal optimist. But I think Ollie should say to the team, before you go out, imagine you're losing 1-0, and then we can play well from the start.
Mm-hmm. Luna, what are you going on about? How can you guys talk about Pogba when you've got no evidence? You're actually listening to the show. We're speaking about Pogba about 30 minutes ago. And the evidence is everywhere.
Can I jump in on this one? If you actually listen, Luna, I said that it's more Mino Raiola than it is Pogba, and until the official evidence comes forth, we can only speculate to what it is. But apparently, there's going to be a video drop tomorrow, Luna. So I don't. Yeah, you've definitely not been watching much. You've just jumped on and thought, I'll tell you what, these lads were talking about Pogba for. It must be hate. It must be a lot of hate behind it, which is also something that me and John have just been talking about a minute ago. So Luna, come on, mate.
It's
watch
just
the
balance.
show.
It's balance. Like, you've got to listen to opinions and take them in. At the end of the day, if you're a Manchester United fan channel and you're talking about the club, you can only talk about what other people are talking about at the same time and get opinions on it. We're not all going to have the same opinions. As Barry, Doc United says all the time, football would be a boring place if we all had the same opinions. Some people would be childish with their opinions. Some people would be mature with their opinions. Some people would be outlandish. Who cares? It's down to that person's personality. But at the end of the day, people are allowed to have opinions on news, and that's all we're doing, and we're being balanced with it. 4 people with different kind of views, maybe they're hitting on the same points, but doing it slightly differently. Anyway, it's Monday night. Should we get quizzy? Let's get quizzy.
Let's get quizzical.
Manchester United fan quiz. Joe, do you want to tell the guys how it's going to work? And is there a theme today?
There is a theme day. Since I knew we were talking about Pogba, the theme is our most expensive signings ever. And there's going to be a question. There's 6 questions, and each one is taken from the top 6. So there's a question on the most expensive, second most expensive, third most question, blah, 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 blah. Each of you get 3 questions. And if it's a tiebreaker at the end that's needed, there is a tiebreaker question. So,
by the way, guys, you haven't got the live chat open, have you? We're going to trust that you both have the live chat closed, so there's no cheating going on at all. Love that. Russell doesn't need a live chat. He's like, I'm going to smash you, John. That's what Russell just said. He's trying to have. He's trying to. He also looks like he's just about to fall asleep as well, Russell. Yeah. Right, let's get with it.
Okay, Russell, you are up first. Question 1A on Paul Pogba. Which French side did we sign Paul Pogba from in 2007?
Oh, shit. Why don't I know that?
Would you like me to say it slower and more condescending?
These questions are hard.
I've got 2 teams in my head. I'm going to have to pick one of them.
Do you want to say one?
Leon.
You're sticking with Leon?
Oh, I think I know who. I think I know the answer to this.
The answer is Le Havre.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, a very northern point city. So, John, Rusty made a balls of it. Now it's up to you to take the lead. Go 1-0 up. Our second most expensive signing ever. This isn't the question. Do you know who it is?
Does it get passed over if he doesn't know?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's Harry Maguire. Which of Harry Maguire's former clubs has he scored the most goals for?
Why does it for me?
Rusty, we're not on you right now, okay?
There's not a lot of choices, so I don't know. Hull City. He played for Hull, didn't he?
Yes.
Before that. I think he started at Sheffield United and he played at Hull and he played at Leicester, didn't he? So he should have scored the most for Leicester, but it seems too obvious, really.
So you're going for
Hull City. It's obviously not right because you didn't even know he played for them.
The answer is
Sheffield United.
Yeah, by a lot.
Anyway.
Good work, Jarvis.
Jarvis got the hard right on the first question, and
well done, Jarvis.
Is Jarvis Cocker not a singer from the 70s as well?
It just feels like a 0-0 draw to me.
Well, look, the next one is a true or false round.
Okay.
Our third most expensive signing ever. Do you know who it is, Rusty?
Romelu Lukaku.
That is correct, but that's not getting any points. True or false? Romelu Lukaku has never won a medal at senior level.
False.
Stick with false?
No. No, it is false. He's never won a medal. No, it's true because he missed out with us and he missed out with Inter last season as well.
So you're going with true now.
You just said it is false and then said it's true. You just contradicted yourself in the same sentence.
What are you going for here, Rusty? Only you can make a true or false answer so complicated.
True.
So you're saying he has won a medal?
No, he hasn't won one.
Sorry, you're saying he's never won one. And you were wrong. He won the Belgian Pro League in 2009 and 10 with Anderlecht. You idiot. John.
Still feels like a 0-0 draw to me.
John, this goes to true or false? Man United. Do you know who the the fourth most expensive signing is?
The fourth.
Angel Di Maria.
Yeah, I'll go Di Maria.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, but you're still not getting points for it. John, Angel Di Maria, true or false? Manchester United is the only team he never won a trophy at.
I'd say that's probably true. I go for true. Yeah.
Going for true.
Sounds true.
And
Sounds true, but it's probably not.
It's staying at 0-0 because he didn't win a trophy at his first club, which was Rosario Central, before he went to the
really, because if you told me the clubs, I'd have told you if I thought he'd won or not. But
you didn't ask the right questions.
It's the same.
Romelu Lukaku and Angel Di Maria. 3 questions right. I've got no points.
Again, only you. Okay.
Shit.
Russell, can you answer who our fifth most?
Did Di Maria also win the FA Cup with us? Jarvis is asking. Was he in that team?
No,
he wasn't. Was he? Was he in?
No,
that
the
team?
year before. He was in Van Gaal's first year, and then he was sold going into the second season.
Yeah.
So if I can get back to my quiz now, Ben, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I was just interacting with the fans in the live chat, mate.
Our fifth most expensive signing. It's on to you, Rusty. Can you go 1-0?
Yellow thread, about the same price, so it's one of them two.
Okay, well, you kind of helped John with his next answer by saying that one of them, because it is Anthony Martial. Who was the last Premier League club Martial scored against? The most recent Premier League club Martial scored against?
He just scored the other day. No, he didn't.
Okay, since he hasn't scored in the Premier League this season.
Is this John's question?
No, this is yours, question.
He kind of has it.
Oh, I know.
These are quite difficult, aren't they? Because you have to think about them.
Yeah.
Right. West Ham score against West Ham.
Club he scored against. Guys, get in the live chat. What do you guys think?
He didn't score against West Ham. He's been suspended, so it's probably before the suspension. I'll have to have a fucking guess, man. He scored. Well, how many goals? He scored 6 goals this season. I don't know. I really don't know. Brighton.
Are you sticking with Brighton?
Yeah.
Can I have a guess, Joe? I want to have a guess.
Go on, have a guess.
Was it Bournemouth?
I think it was last season, wasn't it?
Was it Bournemouth?
It wasn't Bournemouth.
Oh, so wait a second. So is McKieran right here with Leicester? He didn't score against Leicester, did
No. It was Crystal Palace.
Jacob got it right. Well done, Jacob.
That's what I was trying to say.
No, you weren't. You absolute liar. Okay, you said he scored 6 goals this season. He scored 1.
Last season. Crystal Palace last season, not this season.
Yeah, last season.
Last season, yeah.
John.
Yeah, what season it was? I could have got it.
to steal a 1-0 victory.
Undeserved, yeah.
And you can even steal this with half a point. I was going to say, because this is a 2-parter.
Okay.
Who is the 6th most expensive?
Okay.
No, he can get a 0.5. Okay. Who is our most expensive signing? Sorry, that's a lie. That's not what the question is. I said what I meant to say was, who is our 6th most expensive signing, and how much did he cost? You can blame yourself for that, Rusty. You said it out loud.
The thing is, I wasn't actually listening when he said it. So I was trying to work out what time my last train is, because I haven't eaten and it's just gone 11. So I'm getting the midnight train because I'm actually in my office.
There's a song about that, John.
Hey, no. So my brain is going into mush because I'm so hungry. And I know you said the answer, so you should win it on the fact you already said it.
Just say numbers. Who's the player and how much did he cost?
I can't even remember who the top 5 was, and even though you've already said them, that's how tired I am. But well, could it have been Angel Di Maria, or we already had him in the top 5?
I already had him.
Okay, below him.
Stop telling him the answers.
I'm looking for information because I think I came in too quickly last time, and I should have sort of thought about it more.
Okay, I'm giving you a time limit now.
Okay. Going to count me down.
4,
what season was it?
3, 2,
Rio
1.
Ferdinand.
Okay, wrong. It was Fred, and it was £53.10 million. Okay, now the very final.
I'm better on history than current, to be honest.
No, sorry, Mary. It was.
I got 5 points.
Okay, guys, I want you to go to the private chat, the two of you. This is the tiebreaker question. Okay.
If you touch the screen, John, you should be able to see down the side, say private chat.
Is that right? Okay, I've not used it yet.
Yeah,
You
so if you
should.
hit private chat.
And this is to mix it up completely. Instead of going to our 7 most expensive signing ever, I'm going to the greatest free signing we ever had, which is, of course, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And the question is, it's whoever gets closest to this correct answer wins. And if you're both the same distance away, then you're both losers. So the question is, how many goals did Zlatan Ibrahimovic score for Sweden?
Sweden.
Wow. How many goals does Zlatan Ibrahimovic score for Sweden?
Whoever is closest gets the pot. But when you have the answer ready, don't hit send or whatever it is. Don't post it in private chat. Just tell me when you're both ready.
What, us two?
Yeah, you two. Put it in the private chat.
Total guess, but I'm ready with a number because it's the first thing that comes in my head.
So,
Okay.
what we put it in there.
Yeah,
Go
type
on.
it in the private chat. But don't
Do I press send? When do I press send?
if you both have the answer in your head, whatever you think it is. Okay, 3, 2, 1, now.
Guys, get in the live chat. How many goals does Zlatan Ibrahimovic score for Sweden? Let's see what you guys are saying. Here's one for you here. 78. Kira Maria said. Have we got any more come through? I just want to check out the private chat. Oh, Stuart says 43.
Okay.
More promising.
Jacob's going 39.
Can I just confirm, Rusty, you said how many?
68.
John, you said?
I went for 50. I don't know why. It just came into my head.
I'm not even going to say why Russell went for 68, but I know how his mind works. I know how Russell's mind works.
Well, his mind doesn't work accurately. The correct answer is 62.
Whoa.
So Rusty takes it on a tiebreaker.
Okay, congratulations.
Just to win.
I think you deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone deserved that one.
Guys, great quiz.
I did say that scared me, the quiz.
Can we just have it be known?
History, I was never going to win.
Can we just have it be known? Rusty just won a quiz against a historian.
I'm not a historian.
about the most expensive signings of the last 5 years. So it sort of doesn't really play into that in some ways. Anyway, John, I could literally listen to you talk all day. Russell, I could laugh and smile with you all day, mate. Thank you guys for being such amazing guests on this show. Guys, if you've been in the live chat, me and Joe massively appreciate you. So thank you so much for jumping in the live chat and getting involved with the show tonight. Subscribe to the channel, hit like. We are back on Friday with 2 more amazing guests. I think Mark's jumping on, who's North United contributor. So can't wait to have Mark on the show. And we have Mannequins. We've got Phil Brown joining us this Friday as well. So another big show. Do not miss it. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your night. Come on United for tomorrow. And once again, thank you to John and Russell for taking time out tonight. We shall speak to you soon. And by the way, go and check out the Leipzig preview before kickoff tomorrow. Ciao for now.
Yeah.